Here she is. Hey there! How you guys doing in the heat? Oh, what's his accent? Just, Mion-san. We're doing good. Is that our refreshment? Thanks a bunch. You're such a great manager. I just felt like coming here. I didn't bring this for you, by the way. And don't treat me as your manager without my permission, please. We'd be a stronger team if you were our manager, Mion. Why don't you apply? As manager, I mean. Satoshi smiled at me in such a carefree manner. I didn't want to become their manager, it'd be tiresome. I've been coming every week though, so I'm a quasi-manager already. Well, if I feel like it. Anyways, how's Satoshi doing, coach? Is his batting average improving? We'll just make him British. Like, he looks like he would be like one of those. Oh, yes, he's doing fine. His batting average as well. If you bought 3 packs of rice crackers at 7 malt. Does that mean it's 30%? Wow, you're doing great, Satoshi-kun. It's not just about the number, Mion. I have to be able to hit the ball when it really counts. It's good that you're aware of your weaknesses, Satoshi-kun. You just continue working on them for now. EDA signaled the pitcher, who then threw the ball. Satoshi-kun looked calm, following the ball with his eyes, then swung. Whack. The ball flew between the first and second bases and landed in the distance. Wow, that's great! Good job, Satoshi-kun! I clapped and Satoshi blushed in response as he repositioned his helmet to hide his face. Well, he's good in practice and when the game is slow. EDA smiled compassionately. It seems Satoshi really couldn't perform when it counted. While he was usually good, when everybody expected him to perform, he couldn't. I didn't think it was because of nervousness, he just couldn't do it. I think it's a perfect fit for Satoshi-kun's character. He seems calm at first glance, but he's actually slow. Numerically speaking, you're a great player, but you need to be able to hit the ball even when things get serious. That's why you were an easy out in the match with the Akita Jaguars the other day. Shut up, I know that. If he'd be able to hit the ball then, he would have been a hero. What a shame. I didn't really give EDA an accent before now, I don't think, but he's British now. A hit could have put the offense into the lead, or at least given them an extension. That was when Satoshi-kun came up to bat. EDA wanted him to live up to everybody's expectations, but statistically that wasn't likely to happen. Yet EDA insisted on giving him a chance in spite of the fact that all the team members had suggested a pinch hitter. It would have been perfect if you could have hit it! Why didn't you? Why can't you hit the ball in a situation where it really matters? There was nothing I could do. I know I'm weak in a situation like that. I thought a pinch hitter was a better idea too. Oh, it's not about the match, it's about you, Satoshi-kun. Ugh! You need to be more aggressive. Shouldn't you have thought the opposite way? Shouldn't you have insisted that you come up to bat no matter what everyone else said? I can't believe you wanted to give away the chance to some pinch hitter. Why are you so weak like that? That's what I'm always telling him. I know that's one of his good points too, but you can be a gentleman other times, but when you're playing games, you should be a demon. I think all men should have 2 sides to them. You need to let your demon out, Satoshi-kun. You're a native to Hinamizawa, so never forget that you have demon blood running through your veins. Are you listening? Satoshi? I am. I'm not sure, but... What aren't you sure? We're talking about you. So, Satoshi started stroking my head for some reason. He looked delighted. A blush immediately spread across my face. I didn't know how to respond. You're giving me advice, right? Thanks. I'll do my best. Hey! Don't try to fool me! I'm not. I'm just happy you care. I couldn't resist his hand. I couldn't help mumbling, I hate us. Satoshi ran back to the field, leaving me red as a beet. Do you feel good when you have your head stroked? Depends. If it were you, I'd have to teach you a new martial arts technique. Aw, what a shame. Alright, everyone gather around. Why don't you split into groups and have a practice match? The Hinamizawa fighters are sort of a lazy team. The members gather around simply to enjoy playing baseball, not to fight for victory. The Okonomiya Titans use this field too, but they practice on different days of the week. They always train hard using dumbbells and stuff. Our team split into two groups and started a match, retaining their loose atmosphere. I'll keep track of score. Coach, do you have a pencil? Thanks for helping out. Here. I took the pencil and the clipboard. I didn't know how to differentiate between recording hits and errors at first, but by now I was used to it. Show me what you've got, Satoshi! Oh, maybe it'll be too much faster if I cheer for you too excessively. Just do okay then. That doesn't sound very encouraging either. Do your best! Time passed slowly that Sunday. Huge white clouds appeared in the sky. They made me feel healthy. Humans are born to be active under the sun. One of the parents was acting as umpire today, so Irie sat on the bench with me. He shouted words of encouragement to the kids while they ran to their positions. Any other baseball coach would constantly berate them, but he was more generous, like a kindergarten teacher. He let the kids have fun while watching over them. To other baseball players, it might look a little naive. I'm surprised you guys can do well with only a small amount of practice. Kids in Hinamizawa romp around every day, so the amount of exercise they get surpasses that of the city kids. Besides, too much training is not always effective. Wow, you think completely differently from the Okonomiya Titans. I can understand why their coach hates you. It's not about being right. Matches exist for someone to win after all, so prioritizing victory certainly isn't wrong. I think it's admirable to aim for victory together. But the goal of our team doesn't happen to be victory, that's all. Hi, Fairywinkle. The Hinamizawa fighters and the Okonomiya Titans have been rivals for a long time. Both teams shared the same baseball field for one thing, and originally there was only one team. But then the people living in Hinamizawa left and made their own. Anyhow, we were rivals. The Okonomiya Titans were strictly about winning, and the Hinamizawa fighters were just about having fun. Surprisingly, our scores weren't that different, which meant our team had something they didn't. Even though I couldn't put it into words, I knew what made that happen. Hey, Team 1, no slacking! You can't make up the 2-point difference pretty easily. I mean, you can. Team 2, no slacking either. Still, some parents would criticize our coach for being too lenient. Oh, that was the coach. Sorry. But still, others would strongly agree with him. Which side would I take? The latter? I couldn't really say for sure. The reason for this was that Irie had an obnoxious habit of sexual harassment. In particular, he had a fascination with maids, but I should talk about that some other time. Satoshi-kun let the ball pass twice to see its trajectory, then hit it on third pitch and ran to first base. He did it! Sorry if I get a little too high-pitched. Maybe I should move the mic away a little bit. He's so good when he's relaxed. In the beginning, he used to get very tired very easily. He's improved quite a lot since then. He really does look like kind of a bookworm. I wonder why he started playing baseball in the first place. We know why, don't we? All the other kids who joined the baseball team love baseball. They'd go out to play in the fields outside of practice. That's why they all had an aptitude for it. But Sis never said that Satoshi-kun exercises intensively in school or anywhere else. He only likes to read. That's why I didn't understand why he started playing for this team to begin with. Well, that's because I invited him. Is that so? You recruited him? Did you notice some sort of hidden talent? Excuse me. Can I have a cup of barley tea? Thank you. Oh, wrong person. Irie asked for tea in a suspicious manner. While he constantly joked around, I knew he was actually a very mature person. I assumed he was trying to evade my question. Is there a particular reason? Irie pretended not to hear me, but I pressed him on it. In response, he shrugged and began answering the question. I think you might be able to guess. What would Mion Sonozaki guess? I quickly searched the data I had on Satoshi-kun. I came up with Satoshi-kun's family's circumstances. He lost his parents in an accident a year ago. Since then, he's been having a tough time at his uncle's home. So, you invited him so that he could vent? Sports are great. You can free yourself through exercise. I thought that as long as he concentrated on something else, he could forget about his troubles at home. He's usually sort of a daydreamer, zoning out all the time. Is he still stressed? I knew Satoshi must be suffering even though he didn't look like it. But Mion Sonozaki never pays attention to things like that, and I had to act like she does. Satoshi-kun got really sick after his uncle took him into custody. He had many clinical symptoms, but the causes were unknown. Satoshi often got sick after he was taken into his uncle's custody. He suffered from fatigue, migraines. He suffered from lack of energy, sleeplessness. We know why. Oh. The coach, Dr. Irie, soon realized Satoshi was suffering from a psychological disorder. Most of the people in Hinamizawa knew how bad Satoshi-kun's environment was. It was natural for him to become sick because he entered that bad environment right after his parents' deaths. Hojo can't express himself freely. Whether he's crying or simply being agitated, he's not good at handling those emotions. That's true. I can't imagine him being angry or crying. Did you know Hojo's mother had been married a few times already? Yeah, I know a little bit about that. Satoshi's mother had married a number of men over the years. That meant Satoshi had several stepfathers. He had to deal with strangers coming into his home multiple times, so he was forced to be mature. Satoshi's mentally underdeveloped. He isn't aware of himself, though. He didn't have enough time to cry, laugh, throw tantrums in his childhood. He was forced to become a grown-up in just a short time. That doesn't sound right. Children have to behave like children in order to grow. There's nothing positive about being forced to become an adult. Not only was Satoko's current relationship with her aunt conspicuously terrible, I heard that her relationship with previous stepfathers weren't good either. Satoko always caused problems, and Satoshi would always step in to protect her. I thought his physical symptoms came from his stress. His body was trying to warn him. That's why Irie invited Satoshi onto the baseball team. He told Satoshi that he needed a new member. Or something like that. He hesitated at first, but after I talked to him at the clinic a few times, he began to open up to me. First, I invited him to come see the practice. Then I suggested he try batting. I eased him into it. Some things are starting to make sense. Sports work excellently for Satoshi-kun. His health quickly improved and he started to become interested in baseball. He practiced batting, he was soon able to swing beautifully, and he learned how to see the trajectory of a ball. I can imagine that. He likes to read, and so he must have read a book titled How to Play Baseball or something like that. He is becoming a good batter very quickly. He's put forth a lot of effort. Though, I wish he could actually hit when it comes down to the wire too. Are you guys close? I think so. He talked to me about his problems, so I guess that's a sign of trust. I feel a bit jealous of how confidently Irie said that. While Satoshi and I were friends, we weren't so close that we'd open up to each other like that. Oh, are you jealous? About what? Taken aback, I blushed. Irie started laughing at me. Please stay his good friend. Well, yeah, I'm trying. I didn't know what I was saying. You know, regarding Hojo-san, he seems a little sick again lately. What? I don't want to make a thorax sound. The ball flew to the left, but the left fielder managed to catch it. It seemed the relationship between Satoko and her aunt had gotten worse lately. So I just want to stop and explain sort of the click in my head. So remember in the second book how I said that I thought that Shion had taken Mion's place when she started like murdering everybody? It seems like she's starting to form, at least here, a little bit of like a hatred towards Satoko. And kind of blaming it on her. I mean, not everything, but like a little bit. And so that kind of connected the dot there. Like if Satoshi got like murdered and was just treated horribly, like she would probably crack and she would definitely blame Satoko and like, you know. So I can see the click there. It was obvious his sickness had something to do with that. Their aunt is bullying Satoko-chan in a terrible way. She's become worn out after all that. And so, Satoshi's also worn out from covering from Satoko, isn't he? I wasn't interested in Satoko, so I switched the subject back to Satoshi. I didn't know much about Satoko. I knew she was a big part of Satoshi's life, but I'd never been interested in her till today. She must have been building up self-esteem and taking care of her unreliable brother. That was all I knew about her. But considering Satoshi's personality, even that goofiness of his might have been an act. Maybe he was trying to make her feel good about herself by letting her take care of him. If only unconsciously. When he's alone, he's surprisingly strong. I realized that only recently. So I couldn't help but think that his whole life is constantly affected by Satoko. Satoshi couldn't manage to get along with his stepfathers even though he experienced some stress. He was even getting along with his aunt. But in order to protect Satoko, he always had to step in and suffer. I didn't really know anything about her, but I had to admit I felt hostile towards her. I felt jealous because she was monopolizing him. It seems that aunt has been bullying Satoko-chan even more lately. Tyrannizing? Is that even a word? I know it's tyrant, but why can't you just say bully? Alright, anyways. That must be what causing Satoko's sickness. Irie heaved a heavy sigh. As he said, Satoshi had been absent a few times lately. He seemed a bit tired, too. He looked normal when everyone else was around, but he looked depressed when he was alone. So you invited him to join the team to relieve his stress, didn't you? Yes, that's right. But he looks stressed again now. How can we save him? I don't know. Irie smiled powerlessly. This conversation feels incredibly similar. When Keiichi was talking to Irie about saving Satoko, it's like the exact same conversation except for Shion talking about Satoshi. I couldn't help feeling a bit disappointed about that, because Satoshi put his trust in him. Just between you and me, Satoshi recently told me that he wanted to leave the team. Huh? How come? He claimed he was tired of it. That's what he said. But I believe he actually wants to spend more time with Satoko. He thinks that Satoko might end up being tortured while he's at practice. I think he's concerned about that. Oops. Oh. I was left speechless for a while. Satoko. Again. Satoko! Why did Satoshi have to sacrifice so much for her? Just by ignoring her, his stress would melt away. Of course, I knew he couldn't do that. If that were the case, then the blame lay with his little sister. I knew how badly she'd been treated, but that only happened because she made things worse for herself. It was her fault that she couldn't establish a decent relationship with their aunt. If Satoko were more mature like Satoshi, her home life wouldn't have gotten so bad. Satoshi wouldn't have to suffer those indirect blows. You know, she's not actually entirely wrong, because we do know that Satoko faked like really bad things multiple times in for her stepfathers, and then like got them, like had the child protective services come. That's one of the reasons why child protective services, or like everybody's like hesitant to call child protective services in the third book, because like she has cried wolf like multiple times just because she didn't like somebody. So she's not entirely wrong, even though she's being jealous right now. It's weird because it's kind of sweet, like caring about him, but also like it's a little girl. Anyways, in the meantime, the baseball team's practice match had become one-sided. It wasn't even worth watching anymore. The members of the losing team were just goofing off. The sky had turned cloudy, too. It was depressing. It didn't look like it'd rain soon, though. The gray sky had brought along cool air. Or hadn't brought any long cool air. It just felt disgusting. I, meanwhile, just stared at Satoshi. To me, he didn't look active anymore. He was once able to enjoy playing baseball, and he felt fine. But he got sick again. Just because the relationship between Satoko and her aunt had deteriorated. I couldn't help but say it. Shouldn't we do something about Satoko instead? It was just a murmur, but Irie had definitely caught it. What? Do you mean, Sonozuki-san? It's not that complicated. If Satoko were stronger, Satoshi wouldn't have to deal with the stress. I think Satoko's the cause of everything. I don't know about that. Yes, you do. If she didn't cause any trouble, he wouldn't have to step in, would he? He wouldn't have to take over in the fight between Satoko and her aunt, right? Satoshi never got scared of any trouble. No matter how formidable the enemy, he'd bravely stand up to protect the weak. I knew that, because I could vividly imagine it. Whenever their aunt chides Satoko, Satoshi steps in to protect her. The aunt probably didn't like it. Though Satoshi didn't have the fight, the aunt would attack him anyway. The fight would then be between the aunt and him. Satoko might then tease the aunt by sticking out her tongue, hiding behind his back, and pretending to be scared. She'd never think how deeply he was being hurt. Because of Satoko, Satoshi had become cornered and stressed. I'm surprised to hear this from you, Sonozuki-san. I thought you were Satoko-chan's friend, a classmate, a big sister kind of figure. I thought you'd always be on my side. But what you said is surprising. Irie looked at me suspiciously. I could tell what he was thinking about me. I'd said too much. Sonozaki Mion and Satoko Hojo are friends. They're close, so Mion should have been encouraging her. After the situation at home got tougher, that's what Mion was supposed to do. I had totally forgotten about that and spoke as myself. It's only natural that Irie would give me a suspicious look. He might end up changing his impression of Mion Sonozaki entirely. I'd have to apologize about her and ask her to put things right. I totally messed up. Even so, I didn't think I said anything wrong. I'd objectively looked at the situation and made a modest proposal. To be honest, I was simply afraid that he might leave the team. I couldn't go to the school in Hinamizawa, so the baseball field was the only place where I could see him. I couldn't even say he was my reason for living. That's right. I was in love with him. But I wasn't going to tell him how I felt. For I was satisfied just being at his side. I certainly couldn't ask for anything more. After all, I couldn't reveal my true identity. I had to be Mion in order to live in Okanomiya. I'm sure he wouldn't tell anyone, just to be fair. I thought that maybe I should leave Okanomiya in order to be free. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. But that's stupid. No matter how tough my life might be, I'd prefer to be here with Satoshi stroking my head every now and then. Why did I love him that much? I read about it in some manga once. You don't need a reason to be in love. I was surprised at myself for being like this. Calm down, Shion. I breathed out slowly, then held my breath, trying to slow my throbbing heart. I felt a bit calmer. At that point, a clear thought came into my head. I want to be with Satoshi. So, I want him to stay on the team. So, I want to get rid of his concerns and stress. So what? So, what can I do to achieve all that? My head started to cool down as I heard the umpire shout, "Game, set, and match!" I'm nervous as to what she's gonna... I mean, we know nothing happens to... I'm actually starting to wonder if Satoshi's not the one that murdered the aunt, but it was Shion. Some days I see him, some days I don't. A clear sky gets cloudy, and rain will always stop eventually. I thought his absence was just like that, but he was actually on the verge of a breakdown. The rainy season was just around the corner, and the air had become so humid that my shirt stuck to my skin. Blah, I know that feeling. For those of you who don't know, in Japan we have a rainy season, which is now, like May or June, and it becomes very, very humid and disgusting. I hate walking to work is like, and yeah, so it's gonna be raining, and I also have to air dry my laundry, so my laundry is probably gonna have to wash it again because it rained today and it's going to rain tomorrow. It had been a few weeks since Satoshi-kun stopped showing up for baseball. I looked for him as soon as I arrived at the field. He's not here yet. Did I get here too early? I want to see him playing in the field right when I get here. I had started arriving late because of those feelings. However, he wasn't here today either. I didn't even bother hiding my disappointment anymore. Everyone knew by now how I felt. The team members from Mion's class came over to try and console me, but I shooed them away. What's going on, Sonozuki-san? Are you feeling sick? Even Irie couldn't comfort me. I was aware that he too knew why I was like this. I'm going home. I don't feel like watching practice today. Look, we're having a meeting with the Okinomiya Titans later. I wanted you to be there because you're a manager. Don't treat me like a manager. I never agreed to be one. Irie looked down, not knowing what to say. All right. Please help us again when you feel like it. Maybe I won't be coming back. If you really need a manager, look for someone else. Please do come again, whenever you feel like it. Satoshi will be sad if you're not here when he comes back. I ignored him and turned around. I had already set up my schedule with Mion, so I didn't have to ask her every time anymore. I tried to contact her a couple times to ask how Satoshi was doing in school, but I hadn't been able to get through to her. Apparently the hag had sensed that I might be in contact with Sis. In other words, Sis was being watched. As a result, it hadn't been easy to contact her. Oh, I'm getting scared for Shion. Kasai, who had been helping me contact her, seemed to have been marked. People knew he was loyal to me. I hadn't seen him for a while either. All I could wonder was how Satoshi was doing. I was frustrated, because there was no way for me to know. My head was filled with worries, but something surprised me out of the blue. Somebody called out to me when I was about to leave the field on my bike. Oh, what? I actually did not expect Reina. What was her voice again? Mi-chan! Hello! I'd never seen this girl before. Luckily, she called me Mi-chan. There's only one person who refers to me on that way as far as I know. Reina. I'm surprised to see you here. Her name is Ryugu Reina. Her real name is Reina, but she wants to be called Reina. So that's what we call her. She moved here in April. I had some information on her, but it was all ambiguous. Sis was still a bit uncertain about her since she's so new. It was hard for me to handle someone like that. I didn't know how to act around her as Mion, so I decided to pretend to be in an obvious sulky mood. That way she wouldn't talk to me as much, assuming that Mion was simply feeling bad. Well, I mean, that's how I really am anyway. Are you going home, Mi-chan? Yeah, I'm not feeling well. Sorry. Let's go together then. I wanted to say that I'd rather be alone, but there's only one road to Hinamizawa, so asking to be alone would look odd. The only way to not seem suspicious would be to walk home with her. Okay, let's go. It's weird because when I do my Reina voice with my princess Shion voice, it's like sounds even more high pitched than normal. Reina nodded quietly. I unlocked my bike. Mi-chan, do you have an umbrella? No. It may rain soon. So let's hurry a bit since you don't have one. Also, I haven't done Reina's voice with this microphone yet. This microphone picks up all my little... As she predicted, we were attacked by pouring rain on our way. We ended up taking a spelt shelter in a small shack in front of a bus stop. It's pouring, but it doesn't look like it's going to last long, since the sky over there is clear. I heard the sound of rain pattering on the rooftop, and the raindrops jumping into puddles. It sounded loud, but it made me feel strangely calm. I zoned out for a moment. Then Reina talked to me while looking up at the rainy sky. I was worried about you, 'cause you look so down. All the baseball team members knew I was depressed because I hadn't seen Satoshi recently. Most of them attend the school in Hinamizawa, so it wasn't surprising that she knew as well. I hadn't been able to contact Sis these past few weeks, but I was sure she had an idea of how I feel about Satoshi, and I wouldn't feel if he didn't come to baseball practice. Sis was probably pretending to act a little depressed during her day-to-day in Hinamizawa to avoid creating a big gap in our moods. But neither of us knew the details about the other right now. Ooh, that's hard. So she wouldn't be able to answer if others asked her what was wrong. She'd only be able to say, "Leave me alone." That might lead to more people becoming worried. Reina must have thought Mion was depressed. That must be why she came all the way to see me. She must have known what was going on because she knew I was at the baseball field. Do you feel lonely because Satoshi's avoiding us? Having deduced what had been going on with Satoshi just from what she said, he'd been distancing himself from others lately because of exhaustion. That's what it sounded like, at least. He looked like he was very worried about Satoko-chan. I think he's really on edge. I feel bad for him. He really cares about his sister. He has a lot of courage. What I'd said sounded hollow, as I knew too well how much of a burden Satoko had become. But I think he'd feel even worse if you also looked depressed, I think. I don't want that. I know. But if you really don't, then you need to smile for him. Otherwise, he might feel really cornered. I know you're strong. You can smile even if it's just pretend. So I want you to smile no matter what. You know lies can become true sometimes. What she was saying in a nutshell was this. Both Satoshi and Satoko were totally wiped out. If Mion was also depressed, even though she's the sort of person who usually lightens the mood, their situation would be stuck in a vicious cycle. Reina sounded like she was trying to give me advice than counsel me, but she must be more mature than she looks. Sis told me that she was a funny girl with a few bad habits, but she seemed to have another, very mature side to her. Do you love Satoshi-kun? Yes. Though I shouldn't have told her that. I immediately responded. In that case, why don't you smile? Reina smiled herself. I believe Satoshi will feel better if he sees you smile. I know you feel powerless now, but your smile will give him strength. I know what you're saying, but it's not that easy. Reina giggled and nodded. He'll come back after he's done with his part-time job. His part-time job? I almost asked that question, but I managed to stop myself. From the tone of Reina's voice, it sounded like it was something everyone knew. His part-time job, huh? I wonder when it'll end. Until he has enough money, I guess. But he'll finish up by Satoko's birthday at the latest. I tried to figure out what was going on from what she said. I had to listen very carefully to uncover the whole picture. Satoshi seemed to be working in order to make some money. I don't think it's easy to find a job when you're still in school. Sis might have had something to do with it. His job only seemed temporary, and it seemed to have something to do with Satoko's birthday. It wasn't that difficult to figure out. Satoshi was working and saving up to buy his little sister something expensive for her birthday. He was trying to comfort her, even though he was so torn up himself. Satoko again. Satoshi was already worn out because of her, and he was now working for her sake, even though he was exhausted? How stupid. It would be easier for him to just forget about Satoko. Oh, I hate that face. Oh, I hate that face. I was startled when I realized Reina was looking straight into my eyes. She was smiling, but her eyes looked creepy. I never voiced what I was thinking, but she was looking at me as though she figured out that I was blaming Satoko. She beamed when she noticed my fear. She smiled as though she understood that I thought that way because of love. She was giving me the creeps. I could hear thunder roar in the distance. The rain began to pick up. Do you feel jealous of Satoko because she monopolizes Satoshi? I avoided answering immediately this time, but Reina seemed to know what I was thinking. Please don't do the fucking eyes again. I hate those eyes. I wouldn't be upset even if you did. That's just how it is when you're in love. Thanks. Oh, her eyes. I don't know why, but Reina's eyes when they go all creepy like that is like the worst in this book. You've been encouraging Satoko to spec that. That's admirable. Of course I have. She's my friend. I sounded so fake. I felt like spitting on the floor. All we can do is encourage Satoko and Satoshi. I don't know how to save them from their situation. Satoko's relying on Satoshi way too much. If she were stronger, he wouldn't have to suffer in her place. You sounded real straightforward. Reina nodded with an unflinching smile, even though my remarks could be taken as harsh. So clearly at this point, no one knows about Shion, but in a year, they do. So I'm curious as to what happens and why Shion is able to drop the facade. Well, not entirely drop the facade, but like Reina knows and everyone seems to know that about Shion in a year from now. Maybe Satoshi feels that way a little too. Huh? Reina kept smiling, but her smile looked strangely cold. I think he's tired of protecting Satoko, and he's aware of that. Given the type of person Reina is, I don't think she'd say something if she wasn't certain of it. Because of that, she must have been confident in what she just told me. Why do you think that? He said so. What? Satoshi secretly confessed to her? Reina asked me to keep it that way. Satoshi told me that he felt tired of protecting Satoko. He was feeling guilty, though. I don't think he would say something like that. But, however, it wasn't likely that Reina was lying. I just met her, so I don't know what made me feel that way, but my hunch told me she was telling the truth. I heaved a huge sigh. Satoshi must have gotten so tired that he couldn't help telling someone. Even so, even if I'd thought that way, he wouldn't tell someone so easily. Maybe Reina led him to do so. She might be capable of something like that. I don't understand this girl. It had only been a little while since we met, but I'd already started talking about something I was keeping deep inside of me. No, I doubt it. Does she used to have some supernatural power to reach into people's minds and drag out what they're thinking? It suddenly hit me that I was sitting with this creepy girl in a tiny shack. I'd been dragged into her strange world. I don't think Sis realized Reina's real personality. She thinks Reina's just a funny girl with some strange habits. She would have told me if she knew. I guess Satoshi must trust you a lot if he confessed that to you. I'm a little jealous. It's not because he trusts me. I think because I've experienced the same thing. You what? Did you also have to cover for your siblings once? Those footsteps always followed me. Oh, I know what that means. That's the syndrome, the Hinamizawa syndrome that makes you crazy. That's the thing that made Keiichi crazy. Do you remember in the last book we heard the footsteps everywhere? Oh, I love it. Yeah. They even came to my bedside and looked down at me. Huh? Sorry, Reina, what are you talking about? I turned around to face her and got the chills. Don't give me that face! I hate that face. Though she was smiling, her eyes looked ice cold. Okay, so what I'm getting from this is that she's infected by the Hinamizawa syndrome at this point, whatever that is. Or she was, or she is, or, yeah. And it would make sense because she did leave Hinamizawa. Like, she grew up here. She left and came. Okay, I can't with the fucking... I hate those eyes. Her eyes looked ice cold. I trembled and froze with my eyes open. Holding on. Have you experienced anything like that? I guess not. Probably. Reina kept laughing derisively. I can't say that word. Derisively? I tried to figure out what she was saying. Oh, God. I knew it. Yeah, okay, so this Hinamizawa's syndrome, what I deduced in my deduction was that it's some sort of like hallucinogen, and I think that it's caused from fear, and part of that is like leaving Hinamizawa. I don't think that I think that it is a supernatural thing, but I described it that it's like a drug. And so I believe that Keiichi was influenced it in book 1, and so he was seeing shit that wasn't there. And that's what the footsteps were as well in the 3rd book. Why do I have to explain this while we have this fucking creepy face in front of me? Anyways, let's continue. Have you ever thought of leaving Hinamizawa and moving to a big city? Have you ever thought of doing something like that? I didn't know how to respond. Reina waited for my answer, urging me to speak with her silence. No. I love it here. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? I knew that. It didn't seem like a good idea to lie to her. Reina has some kind of power I can't grasp. She can read people's minds just by seeing the slightest change in their expressions. So I had to tell her the truth. You'll be okay if that's true, or Yoshiro-sama won't get mad at you. And do you also remember that she got in trouble at school because she like smashed all the windows? That was also the Hinamizawa syndrome, I believe. She probably like literally saw like people trying to chase her or something, or like Keiichi did, you know? And like that's what happened, and that's probably what happened to the people at school that she beat up as well. Oyashiro-sama? Oyashiro-sama. That's Hinamizawa's guardian deity. I couldn't understand why she mentioned that name. My mind stopped for a moment. That's right, Oyashiro-sama. She calmly repeated the name as if trying to teach me something. Yeah, I remember. Fucking go away. Fucking nice. Oyashiro-sama never allows heathens to desecrate Hinamizawa. Oyashiro-sama never allows the villagers to leave either. Those are the rules. Slowly, I recalled the fear of the curse which supposedly caused the dismemberment, murder, and death of the Hojo couple. So what I think is that the people believe this so much, and that causes them to be terrified of it. So when they leave the village, they are scared of Oyashiro-sama punishing them. And that's what makes this thing happen. Every time Keiichi started to get this Hinamizawa syndrome was after he was told something that terrified him. Like in the first book, he was told about the photographer's murder, and then he started being paranoid everywhere, right? So that fear like seeped into him, and he heard about the curse, and the fear seeped into him. Then in the third, it didn't happen in the second book. In the third book, once again, after the police officer came to him and told him the stories, and that's why people think that, at least this is my theory, that's why people think that Oishi is the harbinger of Oyashiro-sama, because he always brings probably unpleasant news, and he puts that fear into place, which causes the Hinamizawa syndrome, which I describe as like a hallucinogen drug sort of thing, which I don't think it's actually a hallucinogen drug. I think that it's an actual supernatural thing, but that's the best way to describe it in my case, is that it's some sort of like hallucinogen, like LSD, but probably not as fun. Okay, anyways, back to this. In the death of the Hojo couple, when I was sent to the institution, I had this fear. I was scared that if I went to the faraway boarding school, I'd fall under the curse. See, that's it. But I should be okay. I escaped from school and returned to my hometown, to Okunomiya to be precise. But it should be okay according to the kids' rules, because I love Hinamizawa. The hag forced me to live this suffocating life, but I still chose to stay in this place. I don't believe I'm breaking Oyashiro-sama's rules. Even though the Sonozaki family had selfishly banished me to a remote place, I came back here anyway. Oyashiro-sama should even bless me for that. I guess I'm trying to convince myself that the curse doesn't apply to me, but I think I'm still afraid of it. I love this place, so I don't think oh wait, that's me. I don't think I qualify for Oyashiro-sama's curse. You can even call me a model villager. I think so too. But I'm not sure about Satoshi-kun. Why? Satoshi wants to leave and run far away. Even if only unconsciously. Huh? I gave an inaudible cry. While I was feeling sad that Satoshi hadn't shown up for practice, he still lived in Hinamizawa, so I'd never even considered the thought of him going away. Are you saying he wants to skip town? He's not aware of it himself, though. He probably didn't notice it until Oyashiro-sama stood by his bed. I still had no idea what she was talking about. I continued trying to figure out what she was saying. Everything he's going through is a sign of Oyashiro-sama's curse. So he's under the influence of whatever the solution is. You feel like someone's watching you from a distance, and it follows you. Then it watches from right behind you. After that, you start hearing an extra footstep. It only happens outside at first, but you start hearing it even inside your house after a while. Then, Oyashiro-sama keeps watching you, even when you're sleeping in the dark, right by your side, waiting silently for you to admit your sin.
Satoshi told me he was having nightmares at first. So I asked him what kind of dreams he was having. And those dreams he was having, as it turned out, were just like mine. I warned him the presence would become bigger. He'd hear an extra footstep and feel the presence watching him in his sleep. I told him to come to me if that ever happened. He must have been suspicious at first. But, just as I predicted, he started to feel Oyashiro-sama's presence more strongly. He finally realized he could talk to me about it.
Lena didn't look like she was joking. She just calmly told me what had been going on. I couldn't even move. I couldn't tell if her words were a joke or the truth. I could only feel stunned. I'm from Hinamizawa originally, but I moved to Ibaraki... Oh, wait. I'm from Hinamizawa originally, but I moved to Ibaraki Prefecture right before I went to elementary school. However, when I couldn't adjust to my new environment, Oyashiro-sama frequently started telling me to return to Hinamizawa in my head. But I couldn't do anything since I was a little girl. I was forced to live there. I felt threatened by Oyashiro-sama's voice. Then... Reina paused. It looked like she didn't want to go into details of what followed. In general, she confused me even more. Anyway, I was able to come back here in the end. Oyashiro-sama forgave me. I haven't felt his presence anymore since then. Satoshi is being subjected to the curse even though he's in Hinamizawa. Why? There can only be one reason. It's because he wishes to abandon Hinamizawa. Oyashiro-sama won't allow that. After a series of Oh. I need some water. Marina voice has given me.
After a series of inner monologues, he confessed. You know he's working part-time, don't you? The teddy bear he's...
Oh my god, what the fuck kind of teddy bear is that?
Costs about 100,000 yen.
Did they translate that right? Because that's $10,000. Oh no, that's $1,000. I'm sorry. Still fucking a lot. $1,000 for a teddy bear? What the fuck? You do not... What? You could, like, buy a... I think they probably got that wrong. It's probably supposed to be $100. I could imagine $100, okay, for a teddy bear. But $1,000? So basically what you do is you put your finger over the last two zeros, and that's basically converted into US dollars for yen. That's fucking a lot. I think they probably mistranslated that because that's $1,000. $1,000 for a teddy bear? Jeez Louise. That is some... Okay.
And he's trying to get the money for her by her birthday. Have you noticed it yet? Think about it like this. If he had that amount of money, that'd be enough for him to run away somewhere far from here. He unconsciously started to think about that after leaving Satoko behind. But he'd feel very guilty. As you pointed out, Satoko's a burden. He's not stupid, so he's aware of that. He just doesn't want to admit it because he's the one who's supposed to protect his little sister. He's been struggling with himself. He thinks he's working to please Satoko on her birthday. But he also feels he might be deceiving himself because he unconsciously wants to skip town with the money. I don't think he should run. Even if he did, he'd regret it for the rest of his life. Oyashiro-sama knows that. That's why Oyashiro-sama's trying to warn him. I hope Satoshi stops thinking of abandoning Satoko. He's working hard to make it to Satoko's birthday, which is... a couple of days after the Meakashi festival?
That's the day he disappears, FYI.
He's pushing himself too hard. He believes it'll end when Satoko's birthday comes.
Well.
The curse keeps cautioning him while he tries to figure out whether he should leave or continue protecting her.
The torrential rain didn't want to stop. It kept pouring down on the galvanized iron roof, producing a loud noise. Yet in the shack, it fell completely silent. What the hell was Reina talking about? I couldn't grasp even half of what she was saying. The only thing I had figured out was Satoshi was struggling, confused, and in so much pain. He's suffering from Oyashiro-sama's curse, and Reina has experienced that before? The Waranagashi festival was right around the corner. Oyashiro-sama's curse had struck 3 years in a row. There was no guarantee it wouldn't strike a 4th time. Satoshi was subject to Oyashiro-sama's curse even now? Was he going to skip town? Was he going to be the next victim? Either way, he might disappear forever. Could I do something? If I didn't do anything, it would all come to a hopeless end. And I started feeling a sense of dread. I didn't buy the crazy story Reina told me, but if something really was happening to Satoshi, which might bring about some kind of end, I couldn't help feeling scared. It's true, isn't it? My instinct is always correct. I decided to contact Mion despite the danger. Mion got upset at first, but she listened to me. Sis, what's going on with Satoshi? He looks really stressed out. I can't even talk to him. What do you mean? You don't know what's going on because you can't talk to him? Sorry. Sis, give me another chance to trade spots again. That's fine, but I'm kind of busy lately attending meetings for the festival. What are you planning to do? Another part-time job? I'm going to your school. Ooh. Is it gonna stop there? I want to keep going. Ah! I actually want to keep reading this one. Thank you, book. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ah! But I need to take a shower.